There is a place in the jungles of southern Mexico that has no name on any old map, no road leading to it, and, until very recently, no proof it ever existed. The people who built it gave it no name we know. The archaeologists who found it had to invent one, and the name they chose translates to something unsettling. There is no path. Not, there was no path, not, the path was lost. There is no path, as if the absence itself was the point. For over 1,000 years, it appears few, if any, people ever returned to that jungle. And when a team of archaeologists finally cut their way in, what they found wasn't just a lost city. It was an untouched archaeological context, a site nobody had disturbed in a millennium. What they found inside would raise questions the researchers themselves still can't fully answer. Let's go back to the beginning. In late June 2026, Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History, INAH, announced the discovery of a previously unknown Maya city inside the Calakmul Biosphere Reserve in the state of Campeche. This is one of the densest, most unforgiving stretches of jungle in the Yucatan Peninsula, the same region that hides Calakmul itself, once one of the most powerful cities in the entire Maya world. The team was led by archaeologist Ivan Šprač of the Research Center of the Slovenian Academy of Sciences and Arts, working alongside Mexican colleagues Atasta Flores Esquivel, Israel Chato Lopez, Quintín Hernández Gómez, and Bitan Vujanović. Šprač has spent nearly 30 years mapping the central Maya lowlands, a region so vast and so thoroughly swallowed by forest that entire cities have been sitting there undiscovered for centuries. This latest site sits just west of Chactún, a major Maya center that Šprač's own team first identified back in 2013. Using airborne LiDAR, laser scanning that can see through dense tree canopy to map the ground beneath, the team detected the outline of a settlement. 15 hectares, roughly 40 acres, buried under unbroken jungle. But detecting something on a LiDAR scan and reaching it are two very different problems. To get there, the team and local workers had to cut a path through raw jungle with machetes, nearly 5 kilometers of it, and then continue by all-terrain vehicle, and finally on foot, through terrain so dense that Šprač later said it was harder to access than any site they'd surveyed in years. And that difficulty is exactly why the city survived. Because here's the detail that should stop you. This is the first site Šprač's team has found in 3 years that showed no signs of looting. No looters' trenches, no stripped tombs, no missing artifacts. In a region where looters have been raiding Maya sites for over a century, sometimes reaching remote ruins before archaeologists ever do, this city had simply never been found, by anyone, for over 1,000 years. They named it Minanbé. In Yucatec Maya, Minaan means there is none, and B means path or road. There is no path. It's a literal description of how hard the place was to reach. But hold on to that phrase, because it's going to matter again later. So what did they actually find in there? A fully developed urban center. Plazas surrounded by palace complexes and religious buildings. Terraces cut into the landscape. And this is the part that surprised even the archaeologists. An extensive water management system, with wetlands and hydraulic channels engineered to control and store water across the site. This wasn't a village. This was a planned city with the infrastructure of a serious regional power. At the heart of it, a pyramidal temple rising more than 13 meters, over 40 feet above the jungle floor. Roughly the height of a 4-story building, standing alone in unbroken forest for 1,000 years. Archaeologist Bitan Vujanović identified it as built in the Rio Bec style, a distinctive form of Maya architecture known for fine masonry, decorative facade panels, steep staircases, and elaborate upper moldings. He said it was the first time he'd personally recorded a temple in this state of preservation. The team documented 14 stelae and altars scattered through the site, and 2 of them tell a story that goes far beyond architecture. One of those carvings shows something the researchers didn't expect to find intact. The first is Stela 1. Even eroded by 1,000 years of jungle humidity, you can still make out the scene carved into it. A ruler holding a knife standing over a decapitation. Beside the image, a calendar glyph, the date 5 Ajah, corresponding to the year 849 CCE. The second is Monument 6. It's broken. And based on how it was found, researchers believe that break was likely not accidental. But even broken, you can still read parts of it. A ruler wearing a feathered headdress, a pectoral with a 3-lobed design, wristbands, necklaces, and carved into its surface, part of a long count date, a Maya calendar system precise enough to pin events to a single day, pointing to the late 7th century. That makes it, according to the project's epigraphist Octavio Esparza Olguin, the oldest inscription found anywhere in the surveyed area. Now here's where it gets genuinely strange. Among the altars at Minanbé, researchers noticed something in how they were arranged and damaged. Several of the round altars and the one rectangular altar appear to have been altered in ways that suggest deliberate human action, rather than simple erosion or root damage over time. Esparza Olguin's working theory, and it remains a theory, is that these monuments may have been damaged or erected during the Terminal Classic period, close to the moment this entire region was abandoned in the 10th century. Which raises an open question the researchers themselves are still investigating. Were the people who broke these monuments the same people who built them? Or was someone else in Minanbé by then, someone who no longer recognized the rulers carved into that stone? According to this theory, it may not have been the jungle alone that erased Minanbé's rulers from memory. It may have been people. And that detail connects to a mystery archaeologists have been trying to solve for decades. To understand why that matters, you need the bigger picture. Minanbé reached its peak during what archaeologists call the Late Classic period, roughly 600 to 900 CE. That's the exact window when nearby Calakmul, one of the largest and most powerful cities in the entire Maya world, was at the height of its influence. At the time, the central Maya lowlands are estimated to have supported somewhere between 9 and 11 million people. Minanbé likely functioned as part of a wider network, agriculture, trade, and political allegiance, feeding into that larger system of power. And then, like so many great Maya cities of this era, it fell apart. This is the part of the story where the hard evidence runs out and the theories begin. So hold these loosely, because according to the researchers themselves, this remains an open question. One theory researchers are actively investigating, whether groups migrating south from the northern Yucatan Peninsula moved into the region during the Terminal Classic period, and whether their arrival contributed to the shift in political power that followed Minanbé's decline. If that theory holds up, the deliberately altered monuments start to look less like random damage and more like a message. A new power announcing that the old rulers were finished. It fits into something archaeologists have puzzled over for decades, the so-called Maya collapse. Across the 9th and 10th centuries, city after city across the lowlands was abandoned, seemingly within a few generations of each other. Drought, warfare, overpopulation, political fragmentation. Researchers have proposed all of these as contributing factors, and most now believe it wasn't one single cause, but several compounding at once. Minanbé, undisturbed, its monuments still bearing the marks of whatever happened in its final years, could be one of the clearest windows we've had yet into that ending. Which brings us back to that name. There is no path. The archaeologists meant it literally, a description of an almost impossible 5-kilometer machete trail through unbroken jungle. But sit with it a little longer, and it starts to sound like something else. Whatever happened at the end of Minanbé, whoever broke those altars, whoever the ruler was on that decapitation stela, the path back to that moment stayed sealed for 1,000 years. Researchers have only just started walking it. The excavation team sent back roughly 500 photographs from the site, which are now being turned into 3-dimensional digital reconstructions of the stelae and altars for further study. This is very much the beginning of the research into Minanbé, not the end of it. And whatever comes out of that analysis in the months ahead could reshape parts of what we think we know about how and why the Maya world came apart. If a city can stay hidden for 1,000 years in a jungle this dense, you have to wonder what else is still out there, waiting for someone to cut a path to it.
If this is the kind of history that actually keeps you up at night, subscribe because we cover discoveries like this moment they surface before they hit the mainstream feeds. And tell me in the comments. I read all your comments. Thank you.